Hello, here I am at my front door. This is where I was subjected to an onslaught of shouting and yelling by a Dorset police officer. This is two Dorset police officers, one in particular who decided to open up at me at my front door here. This is last Tuesday, the 12th of October. This is following a very serious kidnapping episode. And I'm referring to the fact that I have not seen or heard from several members of my family now for over 10 years. And this is raising very serious questions and concerns about whether they're even still alive, whether they have been assassinated, whether they are being held with a knife to their throat, whether they have died from side effects of the vaccine. Maybe they put on too many masks and suffocated themselves. We don't know. Yeah, and the fact that this kidnapping episode has been so serious, so massive, messy, and blatantly obvious, I mean, all happening in broad daylight. And let's make no mistake here, if you or me decided to kidnap someone and hold them hostage for a few days, we could very easily end up in prison for a lifetime. And it says very clearly on the UK government website that kidnapping comes with an automatic jail sentence. So how the hell people have managed to kidnap my family or, run away with various members for over 10 years, giving me these stupid sort of trumped up pathetic excuses that not even a child would believe, is a small mystery at the moment. And I therefore feel like it's very important to make a video to expose what happened, expose all the details, and remind people of what's going on, because the message at the moment is very clear, very simple, that this is happening to other people. It's not a lone case. It's not a single incident. There is obviously plenty of other people in my position are being subjected to this onslaught of terrorism in order to hide evidence of corporate corruption. In my case, it's medical corporate corruption, very, very serious medical corporate corruption. And this then, of course, raises very serious questions about why this ridiculous episode of kidnapping has gone on for so long in the first place. Because obviously people don't have to be kidnapped, silenced, held with a knife to their throat for 10 years unless there's something very big to hide, fairly obviously. And that very big thing is, of course, this terrible multi-billion pound cancer charity fraud. And all the patient beating, violence, torture, and mass butchery, mutilation that goes on within its parameters, which is very clearly, very blatantly the most evil, sickening abuse, terrorism and crime happening in the world today. And lo and behold, we've just managed to find, or we've just located crystal clear evidence now that shows that this cancer charity fraud is exactly what inspired and financed the making of COVID-19 and all this gain of function research. Basically, what happened at my front door here was a classic example of gain of function research. That's what was going on. They were just trying to intimidate me in order to suppress cures for cancer, which has been the objective all along right from the start. The whole purpose of the kidnapping, the whole purpose of all the physical assaults I've endured is to try and silence me and bury the evidence of this massive scam in progress. So, and I say that constitutes gain of function research. This is the whole point here. This is a classic, very clear example of gain of function research, which is just using anything at their disposal to suppress cures for cancer. That can be patient beating, it can be beating patients to death, which is obviously quite convenient, just to permanently bury evidence, and it can mean just sending two officers round to your house to shout in your face. And I believe they call it at the police station, they call it, don't they, the hairdryer treatment. I know that any officers down there who dare to expose paedophiles, who are participating higher up in paedophile rings, etc., are classically given the hairdryer treatment. I mean, the point is now that we have, just accumulating evidence of gain of function research. This is the point. This is blatant, in-your-face gain of function research, all happening in a very messy, very abusive, disgusting fashion, and it's very, evidently should be then gathered, collected, and used to expose the source of the virus in what is now one of the biggest criminal investigations happening on the planet, isn't it? This investigation into COVID-19, the source of COVID-19, where it came from. Well, I'm here to remind you that things like this virus do not come from nowhere. They don't just pop out of, the woodwork. It takes a very, very long time. It has a very long, proud, traditional history dating back many thousands of years. Like all massive scams, certainly of this magnitude, they are inspired by previous scams and are built upon previous crimes. That's exactly how they work, how they evolve, and how they grow, and how we ended up in this mess that we find ourselves in today. So the sad irony, of course, now is that the two officers that came round, shouting in my face with this ridiculous display of gain of function research and desperate effort to suppress cures, are the same people who would benefit from all the investigations that I'm making. This is the ridiculous irony. Their children are being experimented on like cheap lab rats. I repeat, the officers that came round, their children are being experimented on like cheap lab rats by ruthless, unscrupulous scientists and doctors who really just have no consideration for their health or well-being whatsoever. And it's not just experimenting on them with dangerous vaccines that have not been properly tested. It's asking them to wear masks for long periods of time while they're on duty. Not just police officers, but everybody else. With the specific intention, isn't it, of lowering the oxygen in their brain, in order to make sure their brain can't work properly. And it doesn't just, it lowers oxygen in not just the brain, but the entire body. And what does that do? Raise our chances of getting cancer astronomically. Puts a far greater, all of us who are using masks to suffocate ourselves, not just masks unfortunately, but smoking has the same effect coincidentally, are putting ourselves at increased risk of cancer. And this is by design. This is no accident. This is exactly why Dr. Fauci kept changing his mind all the time on the subject of masks, because he knows full well the biggest profit on planet Earth, comes from cancer drugs. And it only took a tap on his shoulder to remind him, what you want to be doing, mate, is advising everyone to wear a mask, because that way we can cause a massive cancer pandemic, within the police, etc. Maybe even give their children cancer if we can persuade them to, pop a mask on their kids. Make it 2 masks, make it 3 masks, whatever it takes, to kill the poor child. And off they go, with this stupid advice. And next day they change their mind. Oh, no, sorry, it's just 1 mask now. Oh, no mask. Next day, oh, yeah, you've got to have a mask again. Yeah, that's the thinking behind it. So, yes, very sad that the same people, who stand to benefit from all the work I do and exposing the crimes that I am currently investigating are the same people yelling, shouting in my face all this abuse. So we can only sit here and speculate, about their own intelligence, really, and of course, these are the same people trying to send me for a mental health assessment. Oh, yes, they don't have to send Crispin for a mental health assessment now. Let's be honest, the people who are displaying really horrifying levels of cognitive impairment, to put it politely, and very serious inability to control their temper, paranoid schizophrenia and a very violent sort of psychosis. It was all coming from Dorset Police, coincidentally, who they don't need a mental health assessment. That's all perfectly normal if you work in the police, but anyone else apparently has to go for a mental health assessment. So there you go. This is the ludicrousness and the stupidity of this whole episode at the moment, and I hope you can appreciate, just how ridiculous this has become. And thank you for watching.